Hello, ladies and gents. Ladies and gents, sorry, Jonathan. I wanted to take this opportunity. I basically wanted to go through your estimates, your quotes for you here, so that we wouldn't have to spend so much time in class doing it. And I thought I could also the quality wouldn't break up and stuff like that. And just thought it might be easy to also go over the wholeness of it all, the email and everything. I know this is the first time, but for the next time, and I think moving forward, this could be helpful. So I'm going to kind of go over everyone's estimate and tell what I think was good and tell what I think was um, needed improvement, and then also give a little critique on kind of the email and stuff you sent me. I know we didn't talk too much about that, so I didn't really expect you to have that, but to give you a little sense in the future of what to do. All right, so I hope this is helpful, and yeah, you should just be learning from everyone's quote here. There'll be something to learn from your own, but also something to learn from everyone else's, and so that's why I'm sharing everyone's. I know that's not normal school in some ways to show everyone's work, but I think um, I'm not in school, so I don't care. So I can do whatever. So take that. Yeah, I'm really a tough guy. All right, so here is from Nika. And when she first sent it, it didn't go through. Um, so I asked her to resend it. Uh, so what I will say right away is, with Nika, and I think with almost everyone else, no one has. We talked a little bit about this as something you can do while you're still in school. Have your address thing. So it can be simple as mine right here is a logo. This is the link to my website. It has my phone number. Um, it just makes you look more professional. It's also helpful if someone wants to get in touch with you, and they can go figure it out from your signature line. What's going on, and or how to reach out to you. So I don't know if anyone had that, so I'm not just picking on Nika here, but I would work on that. Um, Typically, also, I would put some space in between your text here and thanks and Nika. Again, just a little bit of professional signature and formatting. Oftentimes, when I send out an estimate, I will have, even though I have a cover letter and stuff, I'll have just a couple lines here that are not super formal. They're a little bit more friendly, and they will be about things. Referring to the estimate, maybe saying, really excited to send this to you, to work with you. If you have any questions, please give me a call at this number, or I'd love to set up a call that we could go over this more. Kind of sort of directions on how to best interact with this estimate. So another thing here is Nika sent me 3 different documents. One thing I think you should learn now is how to set up a little bit of a PDF. I'm not great at it, but I can at least get everything into one document. And I think that's kind of the bare minimum what you need to do. So I think everything should be in one document. And you typically want to lead with your cover letter, which I believe this is, and we'll look at that. And then you would have everything else after that, and you can decide kind of if you want the imagery next or if you want the numbers next. That's a little bit of a strategy on your part. Now, I will say I haven't looked at all this, so I'll be looking at it kind of fresh as I do, so bear with me. So let's look at this here. So one thing I like right away is that Nika has a logo, and it's a unique one, so I think that's great. Again, I would say learn how to format a letter. I think typically you'd put a little bit more space here between the march and the body of what you're doing. So she said, I'm so glad you've decided to consider me for your project. I'm a photographer focused on lifestyle images and portraits. I don't think you would need a comma here. The location and concept of this project is aligned with what I enjoy doing and pushed me to reach out for your shoot. Included with this letter are a few of my images that I think represent the concept for this project. These pictures are almost candid shots and I believe show what it's like to live on campus. Making these images look as natural as possible is one of my biggest goals. Hopefully we can work together to make this story come to life. Please contact with any questions you might have. I'd say overall this is good, Nika. I would probably not have the part of the location and concept, or no, wait. What was it here? Okay, this part where he said, here's a few of the images that I think represent the concept for this project. Remember, you're kind of selling what you're going to do on this project. So I would not phrase this so much as you're, um, providing them with what you think they want. It's more like you're saying, this is what I would do. If you hire me, this is what I would do because this is my vision. So the idea is, they're buying your creativity. So I would frame it a bit more like that. I like this kind of the story come to life thing. Again, I think you'd want to separate this out into its own paragraph here. The please contact me with any questions you might have. But then we're back to kind of that email, right? How do they contact you? It'd be nice. This may be not just sent around to the person you're sending the email to. Maybe it's the marketing person, low-level marketing person. It's going to be sent up to the higher-level person. So you'd want to have in here your email and your phone number, and if there's any other way people contact you. So overall, good. Few tweaks here, a few things to make a little bit more professional, but pretty good. All right, let's look at this second document here. So here it looks like this is maybe the summary of what it would cost. And you have here that it's United States, non-exclusive, internet use, credit, Sarasota. Yeah, I think this part looks good. Now realize that this is not, this is an estimate, so this is kind of the bare minimum of legal language you need. So when and if you put together, a more formal thing in the future, you want to have, when they would need to pay you, is there money up front, and you usually have sort of a page of legalese speaking to that. Now we didn't really go over that, so I wouldn't expect you to have that here, but just let you know. And it says job description, lifestyle, and portrait shots of graduate students. 2 days, raw files. You might want to make that a little bit clearer. You don't need to have the photographer location in there. Proposed location, you might want to put, the address as opposed to just campus. That's pretty broad. And then I'll just look here at your summary. Fees, crew, rental, travel. All this, we'll look at the breakdown of it. But I actually think, the concept for this was to be like you were going to shoot this in the next couple of years, so right out of school. And I think these numbers are actually quite good for that. It would depend on your relationship. If this was coming through a friend and they were hiring you because you were right out of school, this may need to look more like $5,000 to $6,000. But overall, this is a good number. So good job on that. All right, let's look at the breakdown. So we have photographer's fee. Good. I would just put photographer fee probably, or that should be hyphenated. Otherwise, I think it reads as maybe there's multiple photographers. So one other thing I'd put here is, does this mean you charge $1,250 a day? You just might want to think about that. Maybe $3,000 total would make more sense. Maybe it's $1,500 a day. But I mean, I'm not saying what you should charge, but it's a tiny bit of an odd number, right? Lots of times, you kind of work with round numbers. This is a round-ish number, I would say. Usage fees, $2,000. I think that is fine. Pre-production, $300. Sure, that looks good. Hair and makeup. This number is pretty low if you were going to do both days. I don't know if you could find someone in Chicago ever to do it for that unless you were really tight with them. This is more like a one-day rate. So, I think you'd want to know, and I don't think anyone asked that, of like, okay, would you want hair and makeup for just the portraits or the lifestyle or what? So this is an area where you could get in trouble if they hold you to this number. Are you going to be able to find anyone for that? Or all of a sudden, is it coming out of your fees, which are already fairly low? They're very competitive. I don't think they're bad, but if you had to double all these, basically then it means another 1,150 is coming out of yours, and all of a sudden you're not making very much money, right? Rentals, that looks fine to me, especially, I think if you have a decent amount of your own equipment. Travel, this seems maybe, I would pad this a little bit more. I think it could be a little bit more mileage, gas, tolls, and parking. This looks maybe like just mileage. I don't know how far it is exactly from Andrews to the city or to Northwest, but I'm pretty sure there's tolls along the way. I think this is a little low. Digital files processing, raw image files. It'd be nice to know, this is a very specific number, $1,050. How many images are they getting? Because it does say file processing here. So also liability, $6,250 is a very specific number. I would usually just make that a rounder number, $75, $50, whatever. Ship and transfer. Again, this is probably low. If you go check out FedEx or something, it's probably going to be a little bit more. I would make this 30 or 40. And the reason to pad some of this stuff is, by the time it takes you the time to go to FedEx, package the thing, all that, it's going to cost you more than that. And if you don't pad these a little, it's going to come out of kind of, your bottom line. So that's why it makes sense to pad stuff. Now, I will say, in the end, they may say, hey, we have $5,000 for this, and you may say yes, and all of it's going to come out of your bottom line. But it helps to even have that as sort of a negotiating thing. Hey, I brought this down 30% from what I had it. Digital files, you have a hard drive. Question total, that's no bueno. You don't want a question mark in there. So make sure you look through this once or twice after you do it, so you don't have things like that. 8 meals for $120. You are a frugal meal eater. Let's see. $15 a person. All right, that's not bad, but if it's a whole day, 2 days, so then divide that by 2. $7.50 a person to eat in Chicago. Seems unlikely. Also, we have post-production. More than color correction is $80 an hour. Okay, that's fine. I wouldn't use that spelling of color, but maybe that's just me. Maybe the cool kids are spelling color new. So there we go. So overall, Nika, I think there was a lot of good things on here. I think your numbers were competitive. I think I would just tweak them a little bit more and just be a little bit more thoughtful about some of the stuff. Maybe some of this comes out of usage. That's where I was saying before. Sometimes I have a combination photography fee and usage. So I guess technically in some ways you're actually kind of charging $2,400 a day, because a lot of times I would bundle this all together. Again, this is personal preference. But maybe you could come down to photographer's fee is $2,000 a day, includes certain usage, and that'll also include pre-production, and maybe this $800 goes to all this other production stuff. Remember that typically you have a better argument with your client in negotiation for things that can't be moved. Is kind of, these are hard numbers, right? Like if you have to pay a hair and makeup person, like that's kind of a hard number. Like you have to pay them, they have their fee. Potentially a rental thing has its fee. A hard drive, it costs what it costs to a certain degree. Again, like I said, we're padding these. But usually your fees, your usage fees, your photographer fee is the thing that's more flexible. So if the client did come back and say, we need this final number to be lower, that's typically where you take it out. You might take out $50 here, $100 here. But what you've done outside of like the image processing stuff with your crew and stuff, you've made the prices so low, really, first off, it's going to be impossible for you to find someone. And second off, that you can't take any money out of this. So that's why padding your numbers helps a bit. But yeah, like I said, I think overall good. I think some stuff for everyone to learn from Nika's, but good job, Nika. Keep it up. All right, let's go down. You guys get to see all my weird email here. All right, there's Nika's first try. And, oh no, do I have to go to my next page? It's how much stupid work I'm doing. All right. There we go. Got lost. Here's Jonathan's. Hi, Daniel. Here is my Northwest business assignment. So what I would say just in the future, and so Jonathan does have his signature with his name there, just like Nika. I would add to that some contact information. In the next round that we do this, I would suggest you guys writing this to me as if I was the actual client instead of the guy from Skype. So we didn't go over that, like I said, so that's fine. Let's look at Jonathan's here. So first off, I like that Jonathan has this logo. Okay, Borton Photography. Got it. Sometimes if I might add below this something that says Borton Photography, possibly. But whatever. Do your thing. Thank you for considering me for this project. I'm always happy to move in new directions, and I am confident that we can execute your vision for this work with ease. Even if you're shooting something that's kind of new, I probably would not put I'm happy to move in new directions. It sounds like you have no experience in this. So, if they contacted you, they like what you do. They want some element of what you're doing. So it's not really a new direction, even though sometimes it is, but you keep that to yourself and act confident. Doesn't always go well, but that's what you should do. So I enjoy telling real stories of real people. I think you could just say stories of real people. And so I believe this project is a natural fit within my established style because my photos are created in the documentary style with minimal artificial light. I am able to work with less assistance or gear. This enables me to move quickly and efficiently through the days of shooting. It also allows me more flexibility to modify or change my plans around unexpected events, such as a student rally that I may not be aware of until it happens. Additionally, this may allow extra time to discuss the way the images fulfill your vision and possibly to address and make changes before the 2 days are done. I think that's a nice ending. I would say here, I think Jonathan was playing a little bit off of something he said he saw that I wrote. I would add in there, what does shooting faster get them? Is it shorter shoot days? They probably aren't that interested in that. Is it more imagery, more options, covering more different locations? I think that's what they would be interested in. So I would be trying to sell that part of maybe your ability to shoot fast. If chosen, I would ensure that the stories of the students, both graduate and undergraduates, were reflected properly in the photos and in a way that encouraged prospective students to join the Northwest community. Thanks again, and please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Sincerely, Jonathan Borton. Look at this. Beautiful. He has down here his address. Great. I like what I see there. Nice work, Jonathan. All right. Nice here too. One thing I guess we didn't see last in Nika's was, it was just for Northwestern. And, when a school of contacts you, Northwestern University School of Psychology, especially these larger schools, like they operate pretty independently. So while at Andrews is small enough, you may just think of only the school hires much stuff. Even I'm sure different programs at Andrews hire independently, and This was not Northwestern calling you, really. This was Northwestern School of Psychology. So good job remembering that. I would maybe, Jonathan, in the future, this is not a big deal, of course, but showing that this was your first number one ever estimate, probably might want to just change that number. You can start with whatever number you want. That's the great thing, right? They don't have to know. Job description: Northwestern University School of Psychology, lifestyle promotional shoot, 5 to 6 images, raw image catalog. Nice. You might want to put in there that it's portraits as well, because we did talk about that. Licensee, Northwestern University. Licensor, board and photography. Oh, that's right. Perpetual. I can't remember if we talked about that, but sure. Let's just go with that. Quantity rights, unlimited. So do know that, this perpetual and unlimited that you're giving away is fine if that's what you want to do. You can also use that as your thing to come back with if they say this price is too high. You can change that to, maybe it is not perpetual. Maybe it's 10 years. Maybe it's 5 years. So that's a bargaining area. All right, so right here, it looks like this is your final thing. Again, I think this number is reasonable. We've had some people in the past on assignments like this who had this number be like $100,000. It just had no grasp of reality. And we'll break it down specifically, but this has a grasp on the reality of what these shoots cost, or what they might be willing to pay, I think, for someone newly out of college. Could be more, could be less. So your photography fee is $1,700, usage fee $1,500, and pre-production $600. So one thing I noticed right here is this is a 2-day shoot, and you don't have 2 days of your photographer fee. So, if you had that, you're only going to be paid here $1,700. What's it, like $850? It's a pretty low photographer fee. All right, let's look at the next thing. All right, same thing as Nika here. These should be for 2 days. To me, these really don't reflect prices for 2 days. I think you could potentially get people for 1 day for these prices, but this is a 2-day shoot. This seems a little bit more reasonable for me for travel than what Nika had. Liability, again, I liked it just $75. That makes sense to me. And here we have raw image library 1,000. And looks like he's saying it's $25 an image for the first 50 and $20 after that. It would be nice here if you said how many this is going to be. It just says times 20, but not how many times 20. That would be helpful for the person glancing at it. USPS shipping, this is too low. It'll cost you $20 minimum, maybe more, I think, to ship that. The standard, I would say, I'm a cheapskate and sometimes ship USPS for sure. FedEx is kind of the go-to, and I would always price it for FedEx, even if you send it a different way. And FedEx for something like this would probably be $30 to $40. USB drive, again, I would put this number a little bit higher. If you're putting an entire raw image library on it, you're going to need fairly large. And most places like just a regular hard drive, not the thumb drives I've found. So that's just a kind of a pro tip there. Retouching beyond the color style of you at $60 an hour. And then 6 meals for your crew. Again, this would need to be times 2 because 2 days. So this is good. Have this verbiage in here. I like that. I think though you copied this from me, you made sure to have your name in there. Sometimes people copy stuff and don't put any name in there. All right. One thing, Nika, I'm reminded left out here was some visual examples. So that is always something that really puts your thing over the top, especially if you're competing with others. If you're competing with others, always have, that cover letter, have those visual examples that will really set you apart and be professional. If you don't have those, you just don't look like you're taking it as seriously. So. All right, so let's look at his examples here. He has some stuff from Shutterstock. I obviously I get that maybe you don't have this kind of imagery of your own, but in the future, obviously you would not want to put Shutterstock. You'd want to put your own imagery, but this is fine. The one thing I would say here is we did talk about they want portraits, maybe a whole day of portraits. So I would have a lot more portrait imagery. But otherwise, that's good. I would also maybe have the visual examples title down here. And, if you can, I would format this better. This looks like you just dropped images. They're not the same size. Sometimes maybe you get a designer to help you if you need. But you want that to look a little more tight. But hey, this is your first try, so way to have them in there. Good job with that. Yeah, I'd say overall this is good. Obviously, there's just some of these details, ways you'd kind of frankly screw yourself over with not having all this stuff set up for 2 days. But overall, I think your format's good. I think it looks professional, and I think you had a lot of things right here. You just need to kind of make sure you have those numbers right, which obviously can be a big thing of making money and being a professional photographer who's not who is paying your bills. Let's put it that way. All right, so good job, Jonathan. Let's see who else we have. Let's see if I have to scroll through my entire email again, figure it out. We had Jonathan. All right, we have Tato. All right, so again, we have no one has a signature. Well, that'll be interesting to see who's the first person to send me with a signature next time. Again, like I said, I think with Nika's, let's get all of this in one document. Don't want 3 separate documents. So, looks like I'll start with this cover letter. All right, looks like maybe I have to download this. All right. Cover letter pages. Okay. So I don't know if this is your logo, but it's something. I like that. It does look cool. I assume maybe this is your signature, but whatever it is, it does look cool. Says, good morning. Thank you for considering me on this photography photo shoot. I am excited to be working with you as well as this project. That doesn't make, I would say, on this project or be bidding on this project. I have taken images for a lot of corporate clients, families, and home interiors, and I am ready to work on a bigger project such as this. So kind of the same thing we just talked about with Jonathan. Don't show too much of your cards, just because, and you're going to have this, right? You're going to have a time where you get a job that is kind of a big jump for you. I've certainly had that, but you want to act like you've been there, even if you haven't been there. So I would word stuff always in this way that, reflects your strengths coming in, not your weaknesses. And this, I think this would be considered a weakness. They're asking for you to shoot a college and you're saying that you've shot home interiors. That doesn't really reflect the photo shoot. So I would only say things that reflect the photo shoot. So, I am able to make, I really make good connections with people when I shoot. Now, they don't need to know that's families and babies and stuff. Just say something about your connection with people. And I would, focus more on that stuff. I've included a selection of imagery that I have shot recently that I felt would match this departmental shoot. So again, I think you need to go over this 1 or 2 more times. And I'm the same way. I write one draft and I hate reading it a second or third time. But money's on the line, and it really requires you to do that. Considering that this photo shoot will be based around real students, my work will be directed more towards a documentary style with a bit of an editorial spin to it. I'm looking forward to hearing from you very soon, and if you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to let me know. Again, like Nika, don't hesitate to let me know, but there is no contact information here. So, again, this might be sent from the person who you emailed it to someone else. So have that contact for information there. And I would just talk a little bit more about your skill sets, what you plan to do, why you would be good at this. Just a little bit more about you and your vision for this shoot. I would also say you have this second page here that's completely blank. Again, it's not a big deal, but just it takes away from your professionality, right? It makes you look less professional. I think every little thing you do like that can sometimes give people a little bit of a question. This person have their stuff together. All right, let's look at the numbers here. So we have, looks like this is supposed to be the client. Northwest Chicago. That's not the name of the school. It's Northwestern, and you're sure to remember this for the psychology department. So should have that in there. The psychology department might even have a different address. So need to do our homework a little bit on that stuff. And literally sometimes you will get, a call from a client you've never heard of, and you have to do the homework to figure out what their address was. That is not new. Let's see. Art director, company. Okay. I would just have you as photographer. This is not an art directing job. They're hiring you to do photography, so I would have your title reflect that. Now, maybe there's a different job you get. It's not uncommon for someone to, maybe work in a different genre. Maybe you're the photographer on this one, but you're an art director for someone else on a different one. So, but make sure you have what you are for this shoot. A 2-day photography session, I would usually put shoot. Session kind of harkens to me like family photography or portrait photography in the consumer world, not in the commercial world. Showing the life of graduate students transitioning to their graduate studies and the stories going back to school. That's nice. That was part of what I said it was supposed to be about, and you're the first person to kind of actually have that. So nice. Usage rights, end product, print and media, promoting industry, print and publishing, territory, national. I would usually have this instead of like a long paragraph, kind of a list. Subject to terms and conditions, exclusive for 3. Okay, so let's look at this right here. Again, I think you just need to read this over more. Exclusive for 3, in parentheses, 5 years. What does that mean? That's confusing. Subject to terms, Northwestern Chicago. Again, need to have Northwestern. Do have School of Psychology there, so good job on that. Delivered only. This license is valid worldwide. License shall be valid for 5 years. Okay, so we have, I think, a copy-pasting issue here. Just copy-pasting your wrong thing to somewhere else, unless I'm missing what that is. Publication of the work in the following media. Internet only. The only credit line to be associated with the work is any other use of the work shall be required separate license. Okay, fairly good on this. All right, creative fee. I like the creative fee. Again, we talked about you can have photography fee, creative fee, but that looks good. Overhead prices of $65 with the post-editing hours. So I don't love the phrasing of this. I would say, an additional $65 an hour for retouching, and I would put that in your production. That's more your production than your creative fee. So your creative fee is $14.80. I would say that is low. That means you are getting, I'm obviously horrible with math, $740 a day. Yeah, that's pretty low. I think you, for all of you guys, something in the $1,000 to $4,000 a day, which probably more the $1,000 to $3,000 a day is what makes more sense. And probably 1 to 2, probably $1,500 to $2,500. Coming out of school, I think probably makes more sense. Production charge, wardrobe and makeup. I'll just say very few people do wardrobe and makeup. Most people are hair and makeup. Wardrobe is usually a separate thing. Sometimes wardrobe will also can be a prop stylist, so maybe wardrobe and props or hair and makeup, but those two things do not usually go together. This would be a low rate for one day. Typically, I'd say you're looking at $500 to $1,000 in a big city like Chicago. So it'd be hard to get that. And again, this is a 2-day shoot. So, then you're really looking at $200 a day. Rental equipment and insurance, $250. This is pretty low. So you'd want to make sure, do you have your own equipment? Are you not going to shoot with lights? I'd want a little bit more information on this, because this would, if I was a person hiring, depending on what I wanted, but if what I wanted was portraits, and people didn't ask in the class and no one emailed me to see what kind of portraits, backdrop, do they want them lit? Is it just going to be environmental? If this is lit, this is pretty low. Assistant and crew, pretty good for 1 day, but again, 2 days. Transportation, I would say this is pretty low. WeTransfer and hard drive. This is a little bit high, maybe, but actually pretty good. I would include the shipping with this, maybe, and maybe it includes, select image selecting. I don't know. This is a little confusing though. Is it WeTransfer or is it a hard drive? Why are you charging for both a digital transfer and a hard drive? So need to think about that. You don't have a total anywhere here. What are these two numbers combined? Your production and your creative fee. If I was a client, I definitely want to see a total. And there are some of the production elements that the other people had that you don't have, like is it a raw image library? Are these selects that you've done some a slight bit of retouching to? There's no pricing for that. There's no pricing for meals for your crew. So I think you need to go through and rethink about all of the elements that go into production, and that will help to inflate this price, which I think is too low. Okay? So a lot of good things here, and then just a lot of things that everyone needs to think about when they do it, not just you. But I think you need to think about what goes into pricing a little bit more. If I remember correctly, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, it sounds like maybe you've done a little bit more of like stuff for friends, portraits and stuff for friends. And I think this is in line with that, but commercial is definitely a step up from that. So you want it to reflect that. All right. Good job, Tato. I think we covered all. Oh, we got your images here. Let's download that. Typically that's another thing. You don't want to have to be downloading a bunch of stuff. So that's another reason why it's nice to have it all in one. All right. Well, so far, one thing I will say, Tato has the nicest setup for her imagery here. So this does look a lot more professional. I like that I don't have to see image stock on all of these. So I don't know where you stole these images, but nice job. I think this is a great set of imagery of what a place like this would want. Little resizing thing here. I don't know if you put this together in Lightroom. That can be one place that I oftentimes put together my sort of layout. This image doesn't make a ton of sense, just because how much like science are they doing? So you might want to have, when you go to look in a place or look for your stuff, make sure it matches as much as it can. If not, maybe you speak in your cover letter to, I like to shoot in this style across different genres, but overall, nice job on the imagery here. I like that. This is really the type of things you guys should be aiming for. All right. Let's see who else sent me. Okay, Jessica. Good morning. Attached is my business of photography assignment covering the 2-day shoot. Even though this isn't, a good letter to a client, this is a good letter to me. This looks professional. I think in the next one, we just want to pretend that I'm much more the client, but this is a nice professional look. So good job there. All right, let's look at this. Good job. I think this looks, right away, it looks nice and, professional. Jonathan, this is a little bit what I was talking about. She has a logo a little bit like yours, JC. But right under she has Jessica Condon Photography, which lets me know a little bit better, okay, what the JC is. I'm nitpicking. I don't think a client is probably going to care too much, but this is just a more professional look to it, okay? Hello, thank you for considering Jessica Condon Photography for your upcoming photo project. I understand the nature of this project is to highlight your psychology program for prospective incoming graduate students. Remember, it was undergrad and grad. Whether students are transitioning straight from okay, looks like you're covering me there, from an undergraduate program or going back to school after being out in the workforce, is important for them to feel a sense of connection and to be able to imagine themselves attending Northwestern University. All right, I apologize. I commented too soon up there. That was I think the best intro paragraph. Nice job on this. It feels real, like you're actually addressing this to a real client and you've thought about it. As a prospective student visits the Northwestern website, I'd probably say when a prospective student, but maybe I just need to keep reading, website or leafs through a brochure, it is important for them to see themselves in those images and feel a sense of belonging. We want them to be able to imagine walking across campus, picture what it would like to sit in a classroom, and look forward to gaining valuable hands-on experience. We can achieve this through a lifestyle aesthetic similar to the sample images attached to this document. I believe the style will truly capture the essence of the graduate student experience. As a part of my technique, I like to use natural light for lifestyle shots and only introduce artificial lighting in order to enhance indoor spaces. Preferably to keep things I prefer to keep things simple and authentic to the location we are shooting. If selected, I feel confident that together we can positively highlight the graduate student experience, creating a sense of connection while sharing the unique benefits your psychology program has to offer. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. Jessica, bravo. This is a really top-notch entry letter. I would pay you to write intro letters for me. This is really great. This is above what I would expect from a student doing this for the first time. So great job. Let's see what we got here. All right, so we have the estimate, Northwestern University. Like we mentioned for some of the other ones, it'd be good to put the school of psychology there. Chicago, Illinois, it would also be good to put the full address there. I do like that you continue to have your contact information up there. That is nice. Description of services and rights license. Northwestern University School of Psychology. Good that you had it down there. 2-day shoot with 50 final images, highlighting both adults returning to school to further their education and those coming directly from undergrad. Locations include common area classrooms and campus grounds. We don't have in here that it's portraits and lifestyle. So that's one thing I think you missed that would be good to add. And product, web, social media, and brochures. Promoting industry school of psychology. Again, I would have this in a list. It's just easier to read. But it looks like you pretty much have the things in here. The license shall be valid for 5 years from the creation date. Okay, so you're given a 5-year license. Good. Let's see. Creative fees. Extra value factor. So creative fees, these are not creative elements, all right? These are production elements. Creative fees really refers to your fee as the photographer. So you don't, it doesn't seem like you have that in there. I guess you're saying that is your photography rate, but the raw online gallery is included with that, and that's the $400. So usually you'd have the title creative fees, and then you would have what goes into those creative fees. So if you have fees, so you could just have creative fee, and that's it, but you'd have, photographer's fee, production, you might have on that scouting. So those would be creative fees. And so usually, your title here would not have a fee associated with it. This is sort of the title of this section, and then the fees are below it. So I would have creative fees and then a section of things below it, or you could just have photographer fee and have that, but then that wouldn't be its own section. I hope that makes sense. Additional retouching after initial 50 images is $70 an hour. So I would be careful with this. This kind of reads to me that you're including retouching for the first 50 images. Does that mean you're, going to, if they want to take out a person or take out logos or like stuff that's more intricate? To me, retouching is like, is merging multiple images together, taking out large things. It's like the more intricate thing. I usually put something along the lines of style and color, or is that more simple thing that, would maybe be included in the first 50 images. Also, this creative fee, if this is just your photography fee for the day, is kind of weird, honestly. Like $15.60. I would usually have a round number for that, 1,000, 1,250, 1,500, 2,000, something like that. It's also going back to a theme we're seeing with some of you guys. It's really low. I think this 1,500 would maybe make sense if it was one day, but this is 2 days. So you're only going to make like $780 a day. Look at that. I didn't even have to use the calculator. So yeah, want to think about that a bit more. Production charges. Hair and makeup stylist, $600. Like we've talked about, this would probably be doubled for 2 days. Rental equipment and insurance, $325. You talked in there about using minimal lights, so I think this makes a little bit more sense. I would probably double it though for the 2 days. Assistant crew, $200, pretty low for an assistant these days. $300 to $500 is what you'll see. I don't know exactly in Chicago. Some cities can vary a lot. I've shot in like the Atlanta area, and because they have a lot of film crews, it's quite expensive. And then I've shot, outside of other cities that I would have expected to be more expensive that were cheaper. So this should, I would say, should be much more in that $300 to $500 range, and times 2, because right now you're only able to afford them for $100 a day. Shipping, $25. I might bump this up a little bit, but this is reasonable. Transportation, $216. Again, a little bit of a weird number. Don't know how you got to that, but actually, overall, that's probably reasonable for 2 days. Now, I guess that's one thing I forgot to mention with a lot of these other ones. A lot of you guys had around 90 or so. If it's 2 days, are you staying the night? Are you driving back and forth? If you're driving back and forth, I think most people up to now, if your thing was below $200, we're not taking that into account. So we have subtotal and then second subtotal. I would get rid of this second subtotal. Third-party fees billed directly to client. So that's what this is referring to. If it's not applicable, which basically this is saying it's like probably models, I would just get rid of this line. Otherwise, it's confusing. Total, $3,326. Basically, I think you have this billed for a 1-day shoot and even a little bit low end on that. So basically, I think, this needs to be double. All right, and then down here we have talent fees and scope of releases are the sole responsibility of client. That's fine. Final billing will affect, not estimate, blah, 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 blah. All right, that is good. Let's look at your imagery. Very nice on the imagery. Almost as nice as the last one we looked at. The only thing I'd say missing here is a better sense of those portraits. You kind of have one here, but one thing I do like about this is this does very look like it could be a school of psychology to me. One thing I'm trying to remember if everyone didn't have or not with the imagery is, remember, this is graduate students, people coming back from work. I would have more of a selection that reflects that. Have people in their 40s and 50s. That's the reality of grad schools. It's so, you have people like this who obviously are kind of that, quintessential college age, but you talked very eloquently in your opening letter about, people want to see themselves. I like how you have diversity in these photos of ethnicity, but there's not a diversity of ages. And if they're trying to promote to people who are, coming out of the workforce and they want to see themselves, like you said, I think we should have more representation of that ages. So overall, this was a really good proposal as far as the layout and your wording of things, the professional look of it. Where we need some work are these numbers, and then making sure that your imagery matches your words. But, overall, quite good job, Jessica. Let's see if I had anyone else's. I think that might have been it. If I missed one, I will make a new video. But let's say we have Nika, Tato, Jessica, and Jonathan. I think those are the 4 I got. Like I said, if I missed it, I'll come back to it. But yeah, good job, everyone. I think everyone did some things that were really good, and then everyone also had some deficiencies and things to work on, and that is normal. I hope you guys learned something from all the other people, and that this was helpful for you. So good job. Apply all the stuff you learned to the next one. I think if you do that, if we took all the good things from people's estimates, if you can take all the good things, you pretty much have an estimate that's really nailing it. And I'll say, compared to other classes I've done this with, I really respect that you guys were much more realistic about your pricing. It's always, frankly, a little bit annoying when people, come in and they're like, it's $100,000, it's $80,000. And I just don't know, like, do they have no sense of their own value once they get out of school? Are they just confused? But you guys seem to have a better grasp on that. Even though some of your numbers were too low or didn't reflect 2 days, you had a pretty good grasp on the market. And that is smart, and I think will really help you to, when you go out, to make reasonable estimates for people, and to also not just be disappointed when you're not making, $80,000 on every shoot. I've never made $80,000 on a shoot. So, it's good to have, I think, reasonable expectations. All right. Bravo, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.